To me, there is only one aspect of animation that I really only see one studio being able to master, and that is sequels. Sequels to animated movies can either turn out great or bad. And I see one studio that has done it 3 times and is still going, and that is DreamWorks. They have made their sequels better than the original. How many times has this happened? A lot. We have the likes of Shrek, especially Shrek, we have the likes of Kung Fu Panda, and we have the likes of even Puss in Boots now becoming a franchise aside from Shrek. So it's really crazy. How are they doing this? And how are other animation studios making sequels to movies that ultimately make you realize the original was better in the first place? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. How can DreamWorks make all these amazing sequels? So, before we start, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and thank you guys so much for the support. We just reached 13,000 subscribers, so thank you all so much, and let's get into it. Now, I honestly think the first ever perfect sequel, you all know what it is, Shrek 2. And Shrek 2 still goes down as almost everyone's favorite animated movie of all time. It's just such an unexpected gem of animation no one thought was coming. And everyone was not expecting it to be better than the original. That just rarely happens in cinema, and just animation and cinema in general. And the whole thing is that it even outclasses the sequels that follow. So, it just had everything going for it. It had a perfect villain, personally my favorite villain out of the entirety of the 4 movies. It had a really great story, and oh boy, the conclusion. Obviously, a lot of people consider this movie to have the best third act of an animated film. This film is analyzed in film schools, if you didn't even notice that. Shrek 2 is analyzed in film schools for how great its third act was. And it's insane. I mean, personally, I Need a Hero has been played a little too much in a lot of films, and it's still being played in a lot of films to this day. But Shrek's 2 I Need a Hero was probably the best use of the song ever. There's been some really close seconds, but I feel like Shrek 2 did it justice. And that's what most of the scene is really known for. When you listen to I Need a Hero, you cannot tell me the back of your brain is not thinking about Shrek 2. And that song was already popular, but it made the song blow up after that movie. And man, was Shrek 2 really it's really crazy to say how that movie just changed everything. And it's like DreamWorks was cooking up something no one expected, and it's really insane how that turned out. And they were not done. Kung Fu Panda was just starting up, and obviously the franchise had a really great start. Tai Lung and the story, everything was great. Really loved the first movie. Then the second movie dropped, Kung Fu Panda 2. And it seems like they did it again. Kung Fu Panda 2 released, and oh boy, was it way better than the first one, in my opinion. I feel like having already these established characters and throwing in this much deeper villain than the first one seems to be a common trend in these DreamWorks sequels. And this film, on the other hand, has Shen in it. And if you've seen Kung Fu Panda 2, you know Shen is one of my favorite DreamWorks villains, and you know for a fact that his storyline connecting to Po is probably like one of the best connections, like a hero and villain dynamic since Batman and Joker. I'm so serious. I really do like their dynamic, and in this upcoming movie, Kung Fu Panda 4, if we get to see Po and Shen meet each other, that's what I'm really most excited for. How is that going to happen? The way that Shen's story is connected to Po's by Shen literally murdering half of Po's kind really just ties down the emotional impact and the burden they both carry with each other. But getting that out of the way, the scenes in Kung Fu Panda still have the best action sequences out of the whole franchise in my opinion. The fights were just amazing. The Shen was just intimidating as hell, and I really do love this movie. If you're telling me what my favorite Kung Fu Panda movie is, the sequel definitely has to be it. And not even that, it keeps going. Recently, we had Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Now, you all know that this movie was just outright a masterpiece, and everyone just loves this movie to death. But I'm gonna be real with you. A lot of people were just like, okay with the first Puss in Boots. It wasn't nothing life-changing, and it kind of was thrown under the rug. And there were sighs about this movie getting a sequel. And, oh boy. What was it? Like basically more than 10 years later, everyone's idea was changed. I was hearing buzz about this movie being a masterpiece, and I was like, you know what? I was gonna check this out anyway, but, maybe I'll see it a little earlier than when the movie was supposed to come out. I'll see it opening day. And, wow. I was not disappointed. The film was just amazing. You've already seen me talk about Puss in Boots so many times on this channel, and chances are you've already seen the movie. And Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is what everyone hypes it up to be. It's amazing. The way the story is crafted, like I said, it's a perfect big cake that anyone can enjoy, anyone can love, and all the characters get their time to shine. Puss has his time to shine about him wanting to be this fearless hero, and how deep and emotional he gets about how he's on his last life and how he's been wasting his life away, and how that could be possibly coming to an end. Kitty Softpaws, we get into her story, how she's connected to Puss, and how Puss abandoned her at the wedding, and how kind of deeper her backstory gets about how she's been declawed and everything. And even supposedly comedic timing characters, Perrito gets his time to shine, or they explain his backstory, and the way they did it with him being a therapy dog, and they actually acknowledge that later in the movie. The way they did that was just mwah, chef's kiss. And that's not even all. They perfectly fleshed out all three of the villains in the movie. They did all three villains justice. It feels like it's overstuffed, but it's not. We got Jack Horner, which is the main villain of the movie. He's perfectly fleshed out, and I'm happy that he's unredeemable. And it's something we haven't seen in a long time, and he's just funny as hell, so Jack Horner's great. And we also see Goldilocks and the Three Bears, who eventually turn good towards the end of the movie, but we get to see them fleshed out. They have their moments. And obviously, we were gonna get to him, but Death in Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is obviously probably the best villain that people have seen in animation in a while. And people are gonna be talking about this dude for a long time. Just seeing this image just starts off a conversation of how good he was. The embodiment of death coming after you as a villain in the movie has been done in a lot of films, but not in something like this. And the way they did it was just amazing. And he brought fear into the theater. The way his whistle came on shook lots of people. His whistle still is really freaking terrifying, if I'm gonna be honest with you. Just imagine, you're sitting at night, just, getting ready to go to bed. All the lights are out. And then you hear that whistle, and if you know what it is, the shivers that'll probably go down your spine are terrifying. You look to your speakers, and there's nothing coming out of the speakers. It's coming outside, and someone's walking up to your door. That would be terrifying. My soul would probably leave my body before he even shows up. But putting that aside, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish was a perfect sequel, and I really cannot wait for what they have in store for the franchise later. But we come to this conclusion of, how can they do these sequels better than the first movie? Well, we already have the characters set up, and we bring up this new topic that actually drives the character forward and actually kind of makes sense. Shrek 2 was continuing Shrek and Fiona's storyline of them actually meeting Fiona's parents, and how the fairy godmother didn't like Shrek and Fiona's relationship, and it's great. It feels like natural, not something that just popped out of nowhere. Regarding Kung Fu Panda, this new villain that actually connects to Poe's storyline about where his parents come from, because he doesn't know, he really didn't know. And how that dynamic goes along is perfect. You got Puss in Boots. Puss in Boots has always had 9 lives, but he's always been wasting them and constantly dying. And now that he's actually on his last life, all these villains are after him, and not just that, just the wish in itself. Death is after him, the other villains are after the wish. And it just kind of builds up and makes the storyline get better and makes the sequel just amazing. And that's what I liked about all three of these movies, and their plethora of greater DreamWorks sequels. Like, okay, I mean, as much as the Trolls movies are just okay, I've rewatched Trolls World Tour, and I'll say it, it's better than the first one. Trolls World Tour is not a masterpiece, but it's better than the first one. And honestly, I can't really say that DreamWorks has made every single sequel a masterpiece, because Trolls World Tour was just okay, and Boss Baby Family Business was just, how do I describe it? Not watchable. I haven't run into anyone that's really loved this movie. Honestly, the first film was just okay, had a nice message, but after that, the franchise should have just stayed there. And there were a plethora of other films that should have gotten sequels, like Megamind. You're not gonna see me not stop talking about a Megamind sequel. Even if we're getting a show, I'm still gonna keep asking for it. I'm sorry, you guys are stuck with it. But regarding that, Disney was in their own sequel era, and they somehow kinda screwed it up. They didn't screw it up once, but we'll get into that right now. Incredibles. Definitely one of people's probably favorite Pixar franchises next to Toy Story. This franchise was massive. Everyone was anticipating a sequel. And Disney and Pixar finally said, yeah, let's make a sequel. And the hype writing this movie was phenomenal. And me and my family saw it opening weekend, and the movie was alright. Like, it was good, but did it live up to the first movie's expectations and possibly exceeding it? No, not really. I feel like the villain in this Incredibles 2 was alright, and the reveal at the end was I kinda saw it coming towards the middle of the movie, but it was just underwhelming, and underwhelming villain reveals looked like it was continuing on to 2022, if you know what I'm talking about. But Screenslaver was a pretty interesting villain, using mind control, and there was a lot of mind control villains in the year of 2018, which is a little coincidental, but yeah, continuing. Incredibles 2 kinda had this storyline kinda just pop up too. I mean, supers were already like kind of on the downtrend, and now they were trying to get back into the norm. And just the way the movie turned out, no, I do not hate Incredibles 2. I actually do really like the movie and occasionally come to watch it time and time again. But does it live up to the first movie? No, not really. The first Incredibles was a classic, and I don't really think it could be topped. And do I want an Incredibles 3? Actually, yeah. The Incredibles franchise has a lot of places it could go. And yeah, I'd like to really see that franchise continue. They have really something really good that Pixar didn't screw up, but Incredibles 2 was just okay. And continuing on that trend, oh boy, I already hear all the girls from 2013 and 2012 singing in elementary schools. Frozen! And Frozen was also a Disney classic. I really think that the year of 2012, when I think of animation, I think of Frozen. And Frozen was just a hit. You could not escape Let It Go. It became one of the most popular songs Disney has ever released, like ever. It just kept going until it was eventually dethroned by We Don't Talk About Bruno, which also kind of died. Disney songs don't really have that long of a lifespan unless it's The Lion King. But continuing on that trend, Frozen 2 was releasing, and everyone was genuinely hyped for this movie. I was like, oh, okay, Frozen 2's happening. Good job. I'll see it. And when I watched the movie, it was boring. I'm gonna be honest with you. Another plotline that just popped up and wasn't really never necessarily hinted at the first movie. It just popped up. And really the only memorable moment I had from the movie was everyone crying and screaming, seeing Olaf die, which, yeah, I'll be honest with you, that was unexpected and, kind of a punch to the gut. Speaking of punch to the guts, we got Toy Story 4! Yay! Like, not gonna say this movie's bad, no it's not. But this was just pull at heartstrings the movie. And man, Toy Story 4 was actually a pretty good conclusion to the Toy Story franchise. I would be saying that a few months ago, but no, we're getting a Toy Story 5, unfortunately. But Toy Story 4 was, surprisingly, the best Disney sequel out of all the sequels. And I really do like that movie. I still prefer Toy Story 2 and 3, but that movie was really good and pulled out a lot of heartstrings that all of us had from our childhoods. And then we had Finding Dory, which also, this time it wasn't actually a plotline that just popped up. We did get a reference to, in the first movie, of Dory's parents and where are they? Where's her family? So it kind of made sense for the sequel to go in that direction. And the movie was also just okay. It was alright, it wasn't bad, it wasn't a masterpiece, but it was just good. It was fine. It didn't live up to the first movie, because the first movie, again, the first movies of each of these franchises are still masterpieces. Finding Nemo, amazing, cult classic. Incredibles, cult classic. Toy Story, the beginning of a new era of animation. Amazing. And it just keeps going. And honestly, these Disney sequels are just okay. And it looks like next year, the trend is continuing, and for years to come, it is continuing. We're getting Inside Out 2, which we were supposed to get a long time ago, but it's officially happening. I could see all those fan trailers just disappear by now, but that's finally happening. We have Zootopia 2, which was really needed, and Frozen 3, which we'll see how that turns out, and unfortunately, Toy Story 5. But I feel like DreamWorks did something with these sequels that Disney needs to learn and grasp onto, and I feel like they'll be fine, but DreamWorks has mastered sequels, and it looks like they're just gonna keep going on this trend. Kung Fu Panda 4 is coming out, I cannot wait to see how that turns out. Puss in Boots 3 may happen, and Shrek 5 is happening, so these movies I'm really excited to see how they turned out, and man, Trolls 3 looks alright, we'll see how that turns out, but DreamWorks has mastered making sequels and how to do them right. So what did you guys think? What is your favorite DreamWorks sequel? And also, if you do have a favorite Disney sequel, let me know down in the comments. Like I said, the Disney sequels aren't bad, they're just alright. They're not living up to their first movie's expectations. But what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.